"Take her from the stage," Lord Malvern ordered. "She has insulted the crown before the entire kingdom." The orchestra stopped. Mara Whitfield stood beneath the royal box, while hundreds of guests hissed and shouted. The actors had just delivered a treasonous final verse, words Mara had neither written nor rehearsed. Palace guards moved towards her. Mara seized the conductor's baton and struck it against the music stand. "No one leaves," she said. "The lie is still holding its script." Above her, Crown Prince Rowan rose from his seat. In his hand was the version he had approved 3 days earlier. Its final page contained entirely different words. For weeks, Rowan had attended Mara's rehearsals disguised as an ordinary clerk. She had trusted Mr. Rook. She had never trusted a prince. "Before we continue, tell us whether Mara should expose the truth or walk away from the palace forever." 3 weeks earlier, Mara had been directing a comedy in a public theatre where the rain entered through the roof more reliably than paying patrons entered through the doors. Again, she called from the center aisle. On stage, an actor wearing a patched military coat collapsed dramatically beside a wooden cannon. "You have been wounded in the shoulder," Mara said, "not struck by lightning." The actor lifted his head. "The audience laughed yesterday. They laughed because the scenery nearly fell upon you." A creak sounded overhead. Everyone looked up. Jonah Pike, the stage manager, tightened a rope around a wooden pin. "She is not wrong," he said. "That moon has been threatening murder since Tuesday." The company returned to their positions. Mara's theatre stood in the Caldermere district of Belgrave, beyond the fashionable avenues, and near the crowded streets where printers, musicians, and labourers lived. Its red curtains had faded to brown. Half the seats required repair. It was still a theatre. That mattered. 5 years earlier, Mara had performed leading roles before noble audiences. Then a fire broke out during a winter production at the Imperial Playhouse. The newspapers blamed her for refusing the stage director's orders. No one printed that the lifting machinery had failed. No one printed that Mara had entered the burning wing twice to guide younger actors outside. Her name disappeared from respectable playbills within a month. Now she directed minor productions, rewrote weak scenes, and allowed managers to print other people's names above her work. It was not the life she had expected. It was one she had kept alive. A palace messenger entered during the second act. His blue coat brought the rehearsal to a stop more quickly than Mara's commands ever had. "Miss Whitfield," Mara remained in the aisle. "That depends upon whether you bring money or trouble." The messenger did not smile. "You are summoned to the Crown Theatre tomorrow morning. I have not applied for an audience. You have been selected to direct the command performance." Jonah nearly dropped the rope. Several actors began whispering. The command performance would be attended by King Aldrin, the Royal Council, and nearly every influential family in Caldermere. It was intended to celebrate Crown Prince Rowan's public duties and, according to rumour, announce his engagement to Lady Seraphine Malvern. Mara folded her arms. "Who selected me?" "Lord Silas Malvern." That name emptied the excitement from the room. As Lord Chamberlain, Malvern controlled royal ceremonies, palace appointments, and theatrical licenses. He had supported the directors who accused Mara after the imperial fire. "Then he has made an error," Mara said. "The appointment has already been recorded. I decline." The messenger opened a second document. "The theatre owes 6 months of license fees. Lord Malvern has authorized their cancellation if you complete the production." Mara looked towards the stage. Nell Avery, the 19-year-old costume apprentice, stood beside a rail of repaired gowns. The musicians had not received full wages for 2 weeks. Jonah came down from the gallery. "It is a trap," he said quietly. "Yes. It may also keep this place open." "Yes." Mara looked again at the messenger. "When do rehearsals begin?" "Tomorrow." The Crown Theatre stood beside the palace gardens, with marble entrances for noble guests and narrow rear passages for everyone who made the performances possible. Mara arrived before 8. Lord Malvern was already waiting in the empty auditorium. He was a composed man of 50, with silver at his temples, and an expression that suggested other people's difficulties were evidence of poor breeding. "You accepted," he said. "You purchased an answer with my theatre's debt. I offered an opportunity. Opportunities do not usually arrive with unpaid licenses attached." Malvern gestured towards the stage. "The performance will honor Prince Rowan's devotion to the kingdom, and Lady Seraphine." A pause. "The final act will celebrate the advantages of unity. Marriage, then, that matter is not your concern. It becomes my concern when you expect my actors to praise it." Malvern's smile was slight. "You were hired to direct, Miss Whitfield, not to offer political judgment. A performance is judgment, arranged beneath better lighting. You are fortunate the palace has overlooked your history. The palace helped write it." His expression hardened. "You will receive an approved outline each morning. Any alteration must be submitted to my office. I do not direct speeches written by committees. You will now." A voice came from the side aisle. "That arrangement seems likely to produce a very dull evening." A man stood beside the musician's entrance, carrying a box of archive papers. His coat was plain grey, well cut but unremarkable. He appeared to be in his mid-30s, with dark hair and the restrained manner of someone accustomed to listening before speaking. Malvern turned. "Mr. Rook, you were instructed to observe, not interrupt." The man lowered his head. "My apologies, Lord Chamberlain." Mara looked between them. "And what is Mr. Rook observing?" "The accuracy of the historical passages," Malvern replied. "He is a clerk from the Palace Records Office." Mr. Rook placed the archive box beside the front row. "I have been told to prevent you from inventing wars, treaties, or admirable ancestors." "I have no interest in admirable ancestors." "Then we may work efficiently." Malvern left before Mara could answer. She climbed onto the stage and opened the approved outline. The play concerned a young prince who left the palace to inspect the kingdom. Every farmer praised the crown. Every soldier expressed loyalty. Every poor family thanked the prince for existing. Mara closed the pages. "This is not a play." Mr. Rook looked up from the archive box. "What is it?" A ceremonial bow stretched across 3 acts. "The palace expects dignity. Dignity is not the same as flattery. The performance concerns a future king. Then he should survive an honest scene." Rook's expression sharpened. "You believe a royal celebration should criticize the man being celebrated. I believe praise without truth is merely expensive noise." The actors entered one by one. Mara assigned roles, changed the order of the scenes, and removed 2 speeches before Malvern's first assistant arrived. The assistant stared at the altered pages. Lord Malvern approved the original text. "Then Lord Malvern may perform it himself." The assistant departed in outrage. Mr. Rook remained near the orchestra pit. "You enjoy conflict," he said. "No. I dislike obedience that pretends to be competence. You may find palace work difficult. I already do." For the next 5 days, Rook attended every rehearsal. At first, Mara assumed he was recording her mistakes. He questioned details constantly. Would a dock laborer address the prince that way? "Not if he wished to keep his teeth," Mara replied. "Then the line is false. The line is cautious. There is a difference." Mara rewrote it. The following morning, Rook challenged a scene in which a widow thanked the crown for providing bread during a winter shortage. "The palace did send grain," he said, "after merchants raised the price beyond what families could pay. That is not in the official account. Official accounts are often written by people who ate throughout the winter." Rook looked at her. "Then what should the widow say?" Mara handed him a blank page. "You tell me." He considered it for several minutes. Then he wrote, "I thank the crown for sending grain. I ask why hunger had to become public before mercy became possible." Mara read the line. That is better. You sound surprised. I thought clerks were trained to protect official accounts. Some are trained to read what those accounts omit. Their arguments became part of the rehearsal. The actors began waiting for them. Rook objected when Mara made the prince too charming. Mara objected when Rook made him too solemn. He is 35, she said. Surely he has smiled once. Perhaps no one recorded it. Then the records office has failed the kingdom. By the end of the first week, the play had changed. The prince no longer travelled through a kingdom that adored him. He met a mill worker angry over unsafe machinery, a soldier who questioned a pointless order, and a widow who refused gratitude without accountability. The final scene still honoured duty. It simply required duty to earn the honour. Malvern attended the next rehearsal. He watched without expression until the actors completed the mill scene. This must be removed, he said. Mara remained beside the stage. Why? It suggests the crown ignored dangerous conditions. It suggests officials ignored them. Most audiences will not notice the distinction. Then perhaps the officials should. Malvern turned towards Rook. You approved this language? Rook chose his words carefully. It is consistent with the industrial reports from the eastern counties. Malvern's eyes narrowed. I did not ask whether it was consistent. I asked whether it was appropriate. Mara answered first. It is. Malvern looked at her. The final act will include a tribute to Prince Rowan and Lady Seraphine. The engagement has not been announced. It will be. Does the prince know? The question drew a short silence. Malvern stepped closer. You will add the scene? No. Your theatre license remains in my office. And everyone in this building knows you used it to purchase my agreement. You overestimate how much society cares about the complaints of performers. No, Mara said. I remember exactly how little it cared when the Imperial burned. Something changed in Jonah's face. Malvern saw it. He left without giving another order. That evening, Nell found Mara repairing a costume sleeve. You should let me do that, the girl said. You have been working since dawn. So have you. I am older and therefore permitted to make poorer decisions. Nell sat beside her. Do you think Lord Malvern chose you because he wants the performance to succeed? No. Then why did you accept? Mara tied off the thread. Because refusing would close our theatre. He may close it anyway. Then he will have to do it openly. Across the stage, Rook helped Jonah lift a damaged section of scenery. You need not carry that, Mara called. Rook looked over his shoulder. Is lifting forbidden to clerks? It is uncommon. Then palace administration may explain several delays. Jonah laughed. Mara watched Rook brace the wooden frame correctly, protecting the weaker corner without being told. He was not merely polite to the workers. He noticed what they required. Later, Mara found him beside the stage door, repairing a broken latch. You have unusual duties in the records office, she said. The palace values flexible service. You move scenery, mend doors, and challenge dramatic structure. I am poorly supervised. She handed him a screwdriver. You are holding that incorrectly. Then instruct me. Mara stood beside him and adjusted the angle of his hand. For a moment, neither spoke. Rook looked at her fingers resting against his. Mara withdrew first. You will split the wood if you force it. I shall remember. Will you? I remember most things you say. The remark was simple. It unsettled her. The following afternoon, the suspended harbour backdrop collapsed. Mara heard the rope snap before she saw it move. Nell. The painted canvas and wooden frame dropped towards the costume table. Mara pushed Nell aside. The frame struck Mara's shoulder and drove her to the stage floor. Actors shouted. Musicians overturned chairs as they fled the pit. Rook reached her first. Do not move. I have no intention of remaining beneath a painted ship. He lifted the frame with Jonah's help. Mara tried to rise. Pain travelled from her shoulder to her elbow. Rook caught her before she fell. I said not to move. You are becoming commanding for a clerk, and you are becoming difficult for an injured woman. I was difficult before, yes. His arm remained around her until she was steady. Jonah climbed to the rigging gallery and inspected the rope. This did not wear through, he called down. He descended with the severed end. A clean cut crossed most of the fibers. Someone sliced it, Mara said. Rook examined the rope. Who had access? Half the theatre. Malvern arrived 20 minutes later. He listened to Jonah's account without concern. Old theatres suffer accidents. This was not an accident, Mara said. The rope was poorly maintained. It was replaced last month. Malvern looked towards the actors. If rumors of sabotage leave this building, the command performance will be cancelled. And the theatre license? Reviewed immediately. Mara understood the warning. Silence or closure. Rook stepped forwards. A deliberate cut should be investigated. Malvern's eyes settled upon him. Return to your records, Mr. Rook. I was assigned to observe the production, not to advise me. Rook lowered his voice. You may find that distinction less useful if someone is killed. Malvern stared at him for a long moment, then he left. Mara looked at Rook. You speak boldly to the man who employs you. I have learned from the director. Nell found the first false page that night. It lay beneath a costume chest near the rear entrance. The scene resembled Mara's final act, but the prince's speech had been altered into a cruel mockery of starving families. The paper carried a small blue mark in one corner. Rook recognized it. Malvern's printing office uses that emblem. Mara read the page again. This was not written for rehearsal. Then why does it contain your characters? Someone is preparing another version of the play. Jonah locked the theatre doors. Nell explained that she had seen a palace messenger entering the costume room after midnight 2 evenings earlier. Did you see his face? Mara asked. No. He wore Malvern's office coat. Rook folded the false page. We should inform the prince. Mara looked at him. And what will the prince do? He may order an inquiry. May? He must consider the evidence. A cut rope and a false script seem rather clear. To us. Mara's expression hardened. Powerful men always require perfect evidence before acting against one another. They require none before ruining a working woman. Rook did not defend the palace. That disturbed her more than an argument would have done. The second accident occurred during the closed rehearsal 2 days later. A section of the revolving stage jammed while 3 actors stood upon it. Rook climbed beneath the platform with Jonah to release the mechanism. A metal brace shifted. Mara heard the warning shout. Then 6 royal guards rushed through the backstage doors. One seized Rook's arm and pulled him away from the falling beam. Your Royal Highness. The theatre went silent. Mara stared at the man she knew as Elias Rook. A guard dropped to one knee. Prince Rowan, you must leave this building at once. No one moved. Rook Rowan looked towards Mara. She saw the truth rearrange every conversation they had shared. His knowledge of official reports, his confidence before Malvern, his interest in how a prince should speak. You lied, she said. I concealed my rank. That is a prince's phrase for lying. I needed to hear honest opinions. You needed entertainment without consequence. No. You stood beside my stage, questioned my work, and watched me speak about the crown as though you possessed no power over either. I never ordered you to change a line. You did not need to. You were collecting my trust. Rowan dismissed the guards with a gesture. Mara, listen to me. The use of her name angered her further. Mr. Rook listened. Princes explain. His face tightened. I came because every report reaching the palace described grateful citizens and loyal artists. I wanted to know what people said when they believed no royal person was present. And now you know. Yes, then leave. The actors looked between them. Rowan lowered his voice. The performance is being sabotaged. My trust has already been sabotaged. I did not arrange the rope or false script. No. You merely built our friendship upon a false identity. He absorbed the word friendship as though it mattered. Mara turned towards Jonah. Continue without him. Rowan did not move. This theatre is in danger. It was in danger before you arrived. Malvern controls its debt. Mara looked back at him. What? Rowan took a document from one of the guards. The Crown Theatre's private loans were purchased last year by companies connected to Lord Malvern. Jonah stepped closer. If the performance fails, he may claim the building and the surrounding properties, Rowan said. He has already approached developers. Mara understood the full design. Malvern had not hired her merely to embarrass a disgraced actress. He had chosen a director society would readily blame. A failed royal performance would justify closing the theatre district. The actors, musicians, costume workers and stagehands would lose everything. Rowan approached her carefully. We must work together. Mara looked at the false script page in his hand. No more disguises. No private explanations. No royal promises. What do you require? Written protection for the theatre workers during the investigation. I can issue it. You will also guarantee that no performer is arrested for refusing an altered line. His expression changed. You believe that is what Malvern intends. I believe the false page exists because someone wants it spoken. Rowan nodded. You shall have the order tonight. Mara met his gaze. She did not forgive him. She did not trust him. But the theatre no longer belonged only to her wounded pride. Hundreds of livelihoods stood behind its curtain. Then return tomorrow, she said. Not as Mr. Rook. Rowan inclined his head. As you wish. And your Royal Highness. He stopped. If you lie to me again, I shall rewrite the prince as a fool. For the first time since his identity had been exposed, Rowan almost smiled. That may be the most merciful version of him. After he left, Mara turned towards the stage. The false page rested beside her approved script. The language was harsher, the cue numbers altered, and the final speech designed to provoke outrage. Someone intended to replace the ending during the royal performance. Someone who understood the theatre well enough to know when the actors would be unable to stop. Mara picked up the conductor's baton. From the final scene, she ordered. Jonah stared at her. Tonight, especially tonight, the actors returned to their places. Above them, the repaired ropes creaked. Beyond the theatre doors, Lord Malvern's messengers were already moving through the palace. The command performance was 6 days away, and Mara now knew she had not been hired to direct it. She had been hired to take the blame when it was destroyed. Rowan returned the following morning without disguise. The rehearsal stopped before he reached the stage. Actors bowed. Musicians lowered their instruments. Even Jonah removed his cap, though he did so with visible reluctance. Mara remained beside the conductor's stand. You asked me not to return as Mr. Rook, Rowan said. I did. I have brought the order you requested. He handed her a sealed document. It protected every performer, musician, and stage worker from arrest for refusing unapproved changes to the production. A second order suspended any sale or closure of the theatre district until the debts had been independently examined. Mara read both documents carefully. Who may revoke them? Only the king or the full royal council. Lord Malvern sits upon that council. He does. Then this is protection, not victory. Yes. She looked up. Good. I have little use for princes who confuse the two. Rowan accepted the remark without protest. Rehearsal resumed. His presence changed the room. Every actor measured each word before speaking. The natural arguments that had shaped the play disappeared beneath ceremony. After 20 minutes, Mara struck her baton against the stand. This is dreadful. The leading actor froze. Miss Whitfield, you played the same scene properly yesterday. His Royal Highness is present. That is not an acting direction. Rowan stepped onto the stage. You heard her. Continue as before. The actor bowed. Yes, Your Royal Highness. The next attempt was worse. Mara looked at Rowan. This is why your disguise worked. I understand. No. You are beginning to understand. He removed his ceremonial coat and placed it over a chair. Then he helped Jonah move a section of scenery. The actors stared. Continue, Rowan said. Gradually, the room recovered its voice. Mara did not forgive him. Yet she saw that he was willing to make his rank less obstructive rather than merely apologize for possessing it. That distinction mattered. During the afternoon break, Lady Seraphine entered through the private royal passage. She wore a pale traveling dress rather than court silk. No attendants followed her. I require a word with Miss Whitfield. Mara led her to the empty costume room. Rowan remained outside at Seraphine's request. You should leave Belgrave, Seraphine said. Lord Malvern has already offered that solution. My uncle will destroy this theatre. He appears to be trying. He will destroy you first. Mara folded a length of blue ribbon and returned it to a drawer. Why warn me? Because Rowan has refused to announce our engagement. Your disappointment appears controlled. Seraphine's expression tightened. I was trained for that marriage from the age of 12. Were you asked whether you wanted it? No. Was Rowan? My family considered his consent a matter of timing. Mara looked at her more carefully. Seraphine was not heartbroken. She was frightened. What has your uncle promised you? Mara asked. A household of my own, influence at court, security after my father's debts become public. And without the marriage? I remain dependent upon men who regard me as a useful signature. Mara understood the trap. She did not excuse what Seraphine had allowed. Your uncle intends to replace the final scene, Mara said. Seraphine looked towards the door. I do not know the details, but you know there is a plan. Yes. Who has access to the theatre? His secretary, Mr. Valehurst. He copies the final reports after every closed rehearsal. Mara remembered the false page. It contained exact stage positions known only to those present during the final run. Will you testify? No. Then your warning protects your conscience, not us. Seraphine flinched. You speak very freely for a woman whose career already lies in ruins. My freedom survived the ruin. Seraphine's hands tightened around her gloves. My uncle will say I betrayed the crown. No, he will say you betrayed him. Those are not the same thing. Seraphine turned towards the door. Before leaving, she paused. The replacement pages will not enter through the stage door. He controls the royal attendants. It was more than she had intended to reveal. Mara watched her go. That evening, Jonah remained after the actors had left. He sat upon the edge of the stage, turning a rope end between his hands. You knew Malvern before this production, Mara said. Jonah did not deny it. He owned the machinery company that installed the lifting system at the Imperial Playhouse. Mara went still. The machinery that caused the fire. Yes. You told the inquiry the system had been maintained. I lead. The admission struck harder than she expected. You watched me lose everything. I watched Malvern place a list of every stagehand's name upon the table. He said the theatre would close, and none of us would work again if I contradicted his report. And you believed him. I knew he could do it. Mara turned away. For 5 years, she had imagined that Jonah shared her anger at the false accusation. He had shared it whilst protecting the lie. Why tell me now? Because he is doing it again. That does not answer me. Jonah lowered his head. I was a coward then. I do not want to remain one. Mara wanted to dismiss him. She wanted the clean satisfaction of refusing his late honesty. Instead, she asked, can you prove the old machinery was unsafe? I kept the original maintenance order. Why? So I would know I had not imagined what I allowed them to hide. Bring it to the performance. Jonah looked up. You still want me there. I want the evidence there. It was not forgiveness. It was a beginning. 2 days before the command performance, Rowan was summoned to the palace council chamber. Lord Malvern waited beside a long table covered with coronation plans, trade agreements, and letters from provincial governors. "The king's health is failing," Malvern said. "The kingdom requires certainty. It requires honest government. It requires a smooth succession." Rowan remained standing. "Say what you came to say. Announce your engagement to Seraphine after the performance. Her family controls 6 council votes and 3 major newspapers. And the theatre? If Miss Whitfield conducts herself properly, the district may continue under stricter licensing." "You mean under your control?" "I mean under responsible supervision." Rowan looked towards the sealed coronation plans. Malvern had chosen his pressure carefully. The king might not survive the winter. A divided council could challenge Rowan's early decisions, delay military funding, and encourage unrest amongst rival noble houses. Marriage to Seraphine would reduce that risk. "What happens if I refuse?" Rowan asked. "Your judgment will be questioned before you wear the crown." "My judgment is already questioned. Privately, I am offering to prevent it publicly, at the price of a marriage neither Seraphine nor I desire. Desire is not the first duty of an heir." "No, truth is." Malvern smiled faintly. "That is a sentence for a stage play, not a throne." Rowan thought of Mara demanding that a prince earn the praise written for him. Then perhaps the throne has suffered from poor writing. Malvern's expression hardened. "You are allowing an actress to influence matters beyond her understanding. She understands exactly what you intend to do to her theatre. An institution that survives by mocking its betters. An institution that allows people to speak before their betters decide what they are permitted to think." Malvern stepped closer. "Choose carefully. A king cannot govern by applause from the gallery, nor by fear from your office." Rowan left without agreeing to the marriage. He also did not dismiss Malvern. Mara was furious when he told her. "You have his admission of political pressure. I have no proof of sabotage. You have the false page, the cut rope, and control of the theatre's debt. I need evidence that will survive a council inquiry." Whilst you wait, he continues, preparing the attack. Yes, caution protects him. It also protects the case against him from collapsing. Mara turned towards the stage. "Power always praises patience when someone else bears the danger." Rowan did not answer immediately. Then he said, "You are right." She looked at him. "I cannot remove Malvern today without allowing him to claim political persecution, but I can prevent him from controlling the final performance." "How?" "Even. Quite. I shall place my own guards at every entrance. He controls the royal attendants. Then your actors must know how to recognize an altered page." Mara understood. They spent the night creating a private queue system. Every approved page received a small pencil mark in the lower corner. Each scene began with a musical count recorded only in Mara's master book. If false pages appeared, their queue numbers would not align. Nell copied the approved ending by hand and sealed one version beneath the conductor's platform. "Why there?" Rowan asked. "Because no palace official willingly crawls beneath musicians," Mara replied. For the first time since his identity had been exposed, they worked together without arguing. The peace did not mean trust had returned. It meant they had found a task more urgent than the injury between them. Near dawn, Rowan stood beside the empty royal box. "Did you ever intend to return to acting?" he asked. "No." "Why?" "An audience remembers the face it was told to despise. They may remember differently after the performance. I will not build my future upon their changeable approval." "What will you build it upon?" "The work." He looked towards the stage. "And is there a place in that work for someone who deceived you?" Mara closed the cue book. "That depends upon what he does after the deception becomes inconvenient." The Crown Theatre opened its doors beneath a line of royal carriages. King Aldrin attended despite his declining health. Rowan sat beside him in the royal box. Seraphine occupied the seat nearest Lord Malvern. Mara stood behind the curtain. "Whatever happens," she told the company, "follow the approved cues. If an attendant brings new pages, do not read them until I confirm them." One actor swallowed. "And if they threaten arrest?" Mara held up Rowan's written order. "Then make them threaten the Crown Prince's seal." The first act began. The audience laughed in the proper places. They listened when the dock worker questioned the cost of royal ceremonies. A few nobles shifted uncomfortably when the widow asked why mercy had arrived only after hunger became visible. The king leaned towards Rowan. "Malvern approved this?" "No." The king almost smiled. "Then perhaps I should remain alive long enough to see the final act." Backstage, Nell saw a royal attendant enter through the private corridor. He carried a leather portfolio. "That is Valehurst," she whispered. Malvern's secretary moved from actor to actor, replacing the final pages. Mara stepped into his path. "These have not been approved. Lord Malvern has authorized revisions on behalf of the Crown. The Crown has already authorized the performance." Valehurst produced a written order. The seal appeared genuine. Mara read it once. The signature belonged to the king's private secretary, but the date had been altered. "You forged the authority. Take care, Miss Whitfield." "No." "You take care." Two palace guards appeared behind him. "Actors who refuse the revised text will be detained for disobedience during a royal performance," Valehurst said. Several performers faltered. The orchestra had already begun the final music. Mara looked towards the stage. Stopping now would create the public failure Malvern wanted. Allowing the false pages to be spoken would create something worse. "Take your positions," she told the actors. Valehurst smiled. Mara waited until he left. Then she whispered, "Read only until cue 42. At 43, stop." The curtain rose. The final act began correctly. The actor playing the prince addressed the workers of the fictional city. He promised reforms and asked for their judgment. Then came cue 43. He looked down at the replacement page. The false speech accused the future king of cowardice, vanity, and deliberate cruelty towards starving families. The actor hesitated. A guard stood beside the stage entrance. He read the first line. The audience stiffened. He read the second. Hissing began in the upper boxes. Malvern rose. "This is treason." The next actor delivered another altered verse. The theatre erupted. Guests shouted for the performance to stop. Several demanded Mara's arrest. Malvern pointed towards the stage. "Take her from the theatre. She has insulted the crown before the entire kingdom." Palace guards moved towards her. Mara stepped onto the stage and seized the conductor's baton. She struck it hard against the music stand. "No one leaves," she said. "The lie is still holding its script." The orchestra stopped. For one suspended moment, the entire theatre obeyed her. Malvern descended from the royal box. "You have no authority to address this audience." "I have authority over this stage." "Not any longer." Mara turned towards the actors. "Hold up the pages you were given." Each performer raised a sheet. "Now show the lower left corner." The approved pencil marks were absent. Mara brought forward her master cue book. The final scene begins with cue 43. These replacement pages begin with cue 51, which does not exist in this production. Malvern laughed. She prepared both versions. Nell came from the wings carrying the false page found days earlier. "This was discovered before the performance," she said. "It bears the mark of Lord Malvern's printing office." Mara placed it beside the replacements. The paper, ink, and type matched. Valehurst attempted to leave through the side passage. Rowan descended from the royal box. "Stop him." His guards blocked the door. Malvern turned towards the prince. "You cannot permit an actress to direct a royal investigation." Rowan stepped onto the stage. He did not stand in front of Mara. He stood beside her. "The approved script in my hand contains none of the words spoken tonight," he said. "Miss Whitfield will continue presenting her evidence." The choice mattered. He possessed the louder authority. He allowed her to retain the voice. Mara called Jonah forwards. He presented the cut rope from rehearsal and the original maintenance order from the Imperial Playhouse. "This machinery was unsafe 5 years ago," he said. "Lord Malvern's company installed it. He threatened the workers into silence after the fire." Malvern's confidence cracked. A disgraced stagehand defending a disgraced actress. Jonah faced the audience. "I was a coward. That does not make the document false." Valehurst was brought onto the stage. Rowan held up the altered royal order. "Who instructed you to replace the pages?" Valehurst looked towards Malvern. No one spoke. The silence lengthened. Then Seraphine rose from the royal box. "My uncle did." Malvern turned towards her. "Sit down." She descended the steps. In her hand was a packet of letters. He ordered his secretary to prepare the pages. He also instructed me to warn him if Rowan intended to reject our engagement. "You knew nothing of the final plan," Malvern said. "I knew enough to remain silent." Seraphine reached the stage and placed the letters beside Mara's cue book. "These contain his instructions to purchase the theatre's debts, force its closure after the scandal, and blame the altered production upon Miss Whitfield." Malvern seized her arm. "You have ruined yourself." Seraphine pulled free. "No. You arranged a life in which obedience was the only safety offered to me. I am refusing it." The king stood slowly in the royal box. His voice was weaker than Rowan's, but the room fell silent. "Lord Malvern is removed as chamberlain pending formal inquiry." 2 royal guards approached him. Malvern looked towards Rowan. "You will regret destroying the alliance that secured your succession." Rowan's answer carried through the theatre. A crown secured by manufactured disgrace would not be worth inheriting. Malvern was escorted away. The audience that had hissed at Mara now began to applaud. She raised one hand. The sound weakened. "You believed the accusation before examining a single page," she said. "Do not turn that same haste into praise and call yourselves wiser." No one answered. Mara looked towards the orchestra. "Return to cue 43. The conductor stared at her. "You intend to finish?" "The approved ending has not yet been heard." The actors replaced the false pages with Nell's hidden copy. The orchestra began again. This time, the fictional prince did not ask the people to trust him because he was royal. He asked them to judge whether his actions deserved their trust. The audience remained silent until the final curtain fell. Then the applause began. Not for a scandal, for the play. The inquiry lasted 3 months. Malvern was charged with fraud, coercion, and concealment of unsafe theatre practices. Valehurst testified in exchange for a reduced sentence. Jonah gave a full account of the imperial fire. Mara's name was formally cleared. She read the official declaration once, then returned it to the palace secretary. "It cannot restore 5 years," she said. "No," Rowan replied, "but it may prevent the lie from surviving another 5. The Crown Theatre's debt was transferred to an independent trust. Its board included performers, musicians, stage workers, and members of the paying public. Mara became director of the Crown Theatre. She accepted on 3 conditions. The palace could not alter a production after final approval. No performer could be dismissed solely for criticizing a government decision on stage. And the cheapest seats would remain affordable to ordinary workers. Rowan approved all 3. Seraphine declined to return to her uncle's household. With the king's support, she received an independent residence and later became an advisor on women's legal property rights. She and Mara did not become intimate friends. They became honest allies. That was enough. King Aldrin died peacefully the following spring. Rowan's coronation was smaller than Malvern had planned. There were fewer gold carriages and more representatives from towns, workshops, and theatres. His first public commission as king was not a monument. It was a new play. He asked Mara to direct it. "The council wishes it to celebrate the beginning of my reign," he said. "Then the council may write a hymn." "What would you write?" "A king who discovers that wearing a crown does not improve his judgment." "That sounds severe." "It improves in the third act," he smiled. "Will you accept?" "Only if the play may question your decisions as openly as it praises them." "Yes, and you will attend rehearsals without disguising yourself as a clerk." "I have learned that lesson." "Have you?" "I remember most things you say." The words returned them to the broken stage door and the friendship he had damaged. Mara looked at him. "I trust Rowan more than I trust Mr. Rook. He deserves that." "Not yet." "Then I shall continue earning it." He did. Not with gifts or royal favors, but through repeated choices. He defended the theatre's independence when councillors objected to Mara's work. He attended performances without demanding flattering lines. When Mara criticized one of his labor policies through a scene, he argued with her privately and changed the policy publicly. 6 months later, after the final rehearsal of the coronation play, Rowan asked Mara to remain in the empty theatre. "You once said you would judge what I did after deception became inconvenient," he said. "I remember. Have I done enough? For the theatre? For you?" Mara looked around the stage that had survived fire, sabotage, and royal interference. "You are asking a dangerous question." "I am surrounded by empty seats. No audience can rescue me. That may be your wisest precaution." He stepped closer. "I do not ask you to leave this work. I would not know who you were without it. And what does a kingdom say about an actress becoming its queen? A kingdom says many things. Most of them contradict one another before breakfast. Your council will object. They object professionally." Mara's expression softened. "You are asking badly. I had prepared a longer speech. What happened to it?" "You taught me to remove unnecessary lines." She laughed. The sound filled the empty theatre. "Then ask, Mara Whitfield, will you marry me and continue telling me when I am wrong? That second duty may require additional staff. I shall provide them." "Yes." Their wedding took place in the theatre's small chapel after the final rehearsal. There were no foreign ambassadors, grand processions, or political announcements. Jonah stood as Rowan's witness. Nell stood beside Mara. The actors, musicians, dressers, and stagehands filled the wooden benches. Seraphine attended in a plain blue gown. That evening, Mara did not enter a palace ballroom as an ornamental royal wife. She stood behind the curtain of the Crown Theatre, with the prompt book in her hand. Rowan sat amongst the audience like everyone else. Mara raised 2 fingers. The orchestra began. The curtain opened upon a play that praised the new king in one scene, questioned him in the next, and demanded better from him before the final act. He applauded with the rest. This time, no one replaced Mara's ending. Thank you for sharing this journey with us. Subscribe if you would like to hear another original story from the world of British aristocratic romance.